What is up with doctors saying your labs are normal when you feel like garbage? Today on What's Up with That Wednesday, I want to answer that question because I think it's happened to a lot of us. We've been having thyroid symptoms like constipation, hair loss, weight gain, anxiety, depression, skin rashes, all kinds of things can be going on with our body. And we go to the doctor, explain these symptoms, and they'll say, okay, well, let's check your thyroid. Well, oftentimes they will pull TSH. A lot of doctors pull that test only, and that doesn't tell us much. So, TSH is a message that's sent from your brain to your thyroid, telling your thyroid to make more hormone. TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. So, when a doctor checks your TSH, they're essentially saying, is your brain telling your thyroid to make hormone? Now, the range on TSH is 0.5 to 5. It is a giant range. That is the standard lab range that you'll see on most tests. Now, the problem with this range is twofold. Number one, they set that range from sick people. So they check TSH on people who are having symptoms. If a healthy person came in, they wouldn't say, well, we should see if their brain is sending a message to their thyroid. It just doesn't happen. So the only data that we have on TSH numbers are from people who are experiencing thyroid symptoms, meaning the data that we have, the numbers that we have, are from people who already have a thyroid problem. So that makes the range really big, but it also means that you can have a thyroid problem and be up around 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are numbers of people who are sick with thyroid issues. So the range is an average of all the numbers they've taken from all the people with all the thyroid symptoms. Now, several years ago, they ran some research of people who were healthy, who weren't having any thyroid symptoms, who just had labs to, check how they're feeling and what's going on in their body. And it turns out that people who are void of thyroid symptoms, people who feel good, their TSH is below 1. So that is the recommendation that I follow. I like to see TSH below 1. Now, your doctor will go by those lab ranges. So they will say, okay, it's 0.5 all the way up to 5. Well, you're only at 4.5. So that's normal. Things are good. Carry on with your life. So that is the first problem that happens with the lab range. The second problem is they didn't pull any other tests. So if your TSH is high, we now need to know if you're making enough T4 and if that T4 is converting to T3. Those tests often aren't run. Now, in the great scenario that your doctor did run those tests, and oftentimes it's because we have to ask for them, but if they do run those tests, we run into another problem. And it is, again, lab ranges. So with T4 and T3, free T4 and free T3, those lab ranges are smaller. So they're not as big as the 0.5 to 5. They're usually within about a point and a half. So it's a smaller lab range, but you do function best when your T4 is in the middle beyond. So like the upper half, upper quartile. And with the free T3, that one we like to see towards the very top. So most doctors, again, aren't trained in how to read these tests, and they will look at your numbers and they will say, oh, well, you're in the range. And I frequently see women come in with a high TSH. They'll be about 4.5 on the TSH. Their T4 will be at the very bottom of the range. The T3 will be at the very bottom of the range. But a doctor will look at that and say, oh, everything's normal. You're within the range. Things look fine. So what's up with that? Well, it is faulty lab ranges to begin with, and then doctors who probably don't do a lot of reading of thyroid meds and aren't well trained in it. That is not a criticism on doctors. I fully support seeing your doctor, getting your labs drawn, working with your doctor, because medication is sometimes necessary. And medication can be life-sustaining and help you feel really good while we try and find out why your brain may not be sending the right message or why that T4 isn't converting to T3. I myself saw doctors for 28 years for my thyroid and took different forms of medication. So I fully support it, but I am the bigger supporter of advocating for yourself, asking for the right labs, getting the looking at the right lab ranges and making sure that you fall in those ranges. So I'll attach with this video 2 documents, one about the labs that I recommend, and then the optimal lab ranges that you should be looking at, and not going by that giant range that comes up on your thyroid labs. So if you have any questions, pop them in the comments below and we can talk more about how your labs might be normal when they're not. All right, I'll talk to you soon.